Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, good evening, good evening. How is everyone? Have you had dinner? I hope that you all had dinner or having something nice to eat right now. That's good, Vanilla. So, tonight we will be continuing our regular programming, which is reading Renato Constantino's The Philippines, A Past Revisited. Now, oh yes, I have. I've just finished eating sisig. Now, again, we will be reading the ninth chapter of the book, The Philippines, A Past Revisited by Renato Constantino. And yes, I am very excited because it's been almost a month since we have read this book, and I'm not quite sure if this is the right chapter, even because a lot of things have happened during the past month. And because of the fast pace of the events that occurred, I was not able to save some of my VODs in YouTube. Yeah, I do have a YouTube account. I use it to save VODs. You can follow me, Baby Bakunawa, whenever you like. But I do sometimes upload content exclusive to YouTube, mostly covers. Okay, so Vanilla asked for motherly advice. I'm nervous about the first day of school. I feel like something's pulling me down and saying you can't do it since I'm still a student. What advice will you give me? Uh, so, if you are feeling like you can't do it, or you feel like you're an imposter, we all have that, the imposter syndrome, telling us that we don't belong there, that everyone is much better than us. But that's what you have to remember, that all of us feel like, in a way, not enough or not good enough for what we are doing. Even I, the great Bakunawa, sometimes feel like that. And I know it's bullshit, honey. I'm pretty, I'm smart, and I'm also a giant dragon. Well, currently not, but in my original form. But I still feel that way. So imagine someone as pretty as me still feeling that way. That means everyone must feel that way in some point in their lives, right? So, whenever you hear that tiny little voice in your head telling you that you can't do it, you just stop and tell that voice to go fuck off. And another thing that really helps me is doing things out of spite. Like if there are people who think you can't do it, you have to prove them wrong because fuck them, right? Hi, Mino, and yes, I'm gonna pull a card for you. Hold on. I've actually, during the past week, rearranged my cards a little bit. I've put them on a tiny little rolling shelf so I can easily reach for one whenever I want to. And now that I'm looking at all of them at my disposal, I don't know which card to use because there's a lot of them. But you know what? I'm going to pull out my Vivid Journey Tarot because, well, did you hear that? The covering reminds me of your color scheme, you know? It's like yellow and red and orange. Very, very warm. Let me just shuffle my cards a bit. Can you hear my cards? I know right now what you can see is me holding a book, but just imagine I'm holding my cards right now. I don't want to pull out my tarot hands just for this. Okay. And since there is favoritism here, yes, nepotism, I will pull two cards for Mino. Even if he redeemed one, I'm gonna give him two. Is there like any question that you want answered, Mino? Or this is just like a regular, yeah, whatever kind of thing? Interesting. So, oh no? What do you mean no? You, you want to hear your fate, darling. You tried 3 times. It's okay. It's all right. I know that spelling is not your best suit here. Okay, but I have here the King of Swords and the High Priestess. And what I like about this is that they are both upright, and that usually means a good thing if they are upright, because I use reverse cards, and when the cards are reversed, it usually means that there is a blockage in the energy that the cards are bringing. So what are these two cards telling you? So the first one is the King of Swords. Now the King of Swords is a very, very strong character, and usually it represents a person. That person can be you, and the aura and overall energy is very, very masculine for the King of Swords. It's someone who doesn't fuck around, like they're very, very serious and very, very out there to do the things that they want to do. Is this you? Are you finally getting the energy to like do things that you want to do? So it's very powerful and clear thinking, intellectual, if you may. And I like the contrast of that with the High Priestess, because the King of Swords represents intellect, while the High Priestess, it is more on the spiritual side, like believing your gut feel, your intuition. So these two cards are telling me that your intellect, the way you think right now, and your gut feel, your hint coming from, I don't know where you're taking your hints, but like, you know, just that feeling that you get about whatever you want to do right now, it's the right decision. Like, follow your heart and follow your mind. And if there are people telling you that you can't do it, don't believe them. This time, it's happening for you. Thank you. Um, well, I professionally give advice because, well, as you can tell, I am a tarot card reader. Like, yes, I am a VTuber, but before I became a VTuber, I was a flesh tuber. What they sounds so weird saying that, but like I used to do YouTube and read tarot cards like IRL in the flesh, showing my face and all of that. But that got really tiring really quick. And I've been reading tarot cards for people for like a decade now, so more than 10 years. And usually, when people come to you for tarot card readings, it's one of two things. The first one is that it's their first time, and they just want to get a reading for the heck of it, like just to try it. The second kind of person who comes to me is someone who actually has a problem and they need to solve it. They've tried everything and anything that they can do on their own, and they just want advice from a greater source. Oh no, you can't find it anymore because my YouTube account is the same one that I use as a flash tuber, and I just deleted all my previous videos, and that kind of felt sad because I was very, very close to monetization at that time. But at the same time, I really believe that it's a good thing that I became a VTuber, and I have a good feeling about this. I think that we're gonna get somewhere. Anyway, since we are done with the introductory part, let me just get to some of the announcements that I would like to make. Okay, so where is that? Oh no, I forgot to save it, but I have now an official logo. I know that I have a logo over to my left, but that is one that I just made myself. I commissioned a new logo from Renoa24. She might be familiar because she is the official artist of all the assets of Nanasu. So she might be like a familiar name. And I really, really love the art that she did for my logo. Actually, it's not just one logo, it's a logo set. And there are like different little tiny icons that I can use for different occasions. Hold on, let me just bring it out. Oh, there we are. It's a little too big. Let me just pull that down. Okay, there we go. Here is my logo set. Isn't she pretty? Now, if you would look, let me just zoom in again. Okay, if you would look at the top, you can see my salakot. Well, I'm not wearing it right now, but like in my official L2D form, like my real body, I usually wear a salakot, and peeking through the salakot is my horns. I think you can identify it very easily because I still have horns right now, like even in this chibi form. Like, can you see? Yes, it's cute, I know. And you can see my name. The word BB is very, very elegant with Barbie like colors. Because, just to match my vibe, and the word Bakunawa underneath is more scaly and exotic and wild to show my dragon roots. And underneath that is also my name, Bibi Bakunawa, in Baybayin, our one of our pre-colonial scripts, because we have more than one actually. It's not the only script that's been used by everyone in the archipelago. There are more. I mean, there is like Kulitan, there is Buhid, Jawi, and many others. And then you can see that there are tarot cards on the left and the right sides. And behind that, you can see a dragon. That's me. I'm trying to eat a quarter moon. It's a crescent moon. And it does look like I'm eating my own tail, but it's not like that. I will I will drag it up so that you can see that over there on the lower right is a dragon head eating the moon. And then let's go back there. On the upper left, you will see, I know it looks like a sun, but that is not a sun. It is a local tattoo rendition of a moon. You can also find this pattern at the top of my silhouette, and actually it's on my dress. You haven't seen my dress, but that's okay. You will see it when my model gets rigged. And yeah, at the backdrop is the veil, where it's just attached to my hat. Yeah, and we have like several variations. And here you can see the one without the hat. And then over here at the bottom, you can see tiny little icons. I don't really know what I'm gonna use them for yet, but yeah, that is all for my little logo set. Again, thank you to Renoa24. I had a lot of like, tiny adjustments. It took us a while to get to here, but she's been a champ. Amazing. Also, thank you for the hydrate and stretch routine. Let me just stretch my neck. And let me get my little, well, it's not little, it's a big bottle of water. Aside from this, I would like to thank Riot for giving out free creator safe collection. This one is Diana. This is by Riot Games Music. I'm not really aware of the individual what do you call this, artist. Right now what's playing is Forest Lullaby by Bido or Bido. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that. And yeah, this is a whole hour and a half, actually no, it's almost 2 hours of creator safe collection, music for free. I don't get bonked by Twitch for copyright. I think they have 3 of these. The first one is this Diana. There's another one for Vi, and then there's another one for Sarkar and Talia. And usually I would use the Star Guardian Talia one because it's more upbeat, but for tonight we are like having a very, very chill little conversation here. So we're just gonna play the whole Diana collection from Riot Games. Also, I would like to thank Janelle Salaysay for my screens earlier. In my loading screen, you saw me preparing something that was made by Janelle Salaysay. The text was by me, but the image, she's the amazing artist. She also made my BRB and my stream and screens. Aside from that, well, we can now actually start. Let me just move to my, okay. All right, let me just, I'm sorry about the noise from outside. There are like sigbins and other elementals that you can see. If you ever hear them, just pay them no mind. Okay, So, we are now at Chapter 9: Progress and Protest. The end of Philippine isolation, which took place between the middle of the 18th and beginning of the 19th centuries, involved more than the physical opening of the country to foreign commerce. It also facilitated the entry of the ideas of the Enlightenment that had been sweeping Europe for some time. These new ideas, particularly the tenets on individual liberty, which form the core of the ideology of developing capitalism, found fertile ground within the country precisely because the new Spanish economic policies for the colony had created social forces which required for their own development an atmosphere of greater freedom. Hold on, let me just move this a little bit. I'm actually still adjusting because I have a new monitor and it's quite huge compared to my old one. So I'm like, where am I? Okay, let's start with the spread of liberalism. And that creaking is my chair. Let me just sit comfortably so that we can do this. The French Revolution had fostered ideas of freedom in Spain. You know, the French Revolution, that one, the one where they beheaded people, they beheaded monarchy for being traitors to the people. Yes, that one. So, when people saw that, they were like, hey, that's possible? So, yes, the idea has been planted. Now, the growth of liberalism in Spain had its repercussions in her colonies. Realizing that their economic interests conflicted with those of Spain, the Creoles in the Latin American colonies led popular revolts, which finally, oh my god, there are signals marking. Myon, can you like make your cousins, please? Bark more quietly. Where are we? Rude. Oh god. Why are the being so rude? Oh no. I'm gonna let them finish because I don't want to compete. Now let's continue now that they're silent. Oh no. In Spain itself, the people's resistance to the Napoleonic invasion brought about the temporary ascendancy of the Spanish liberals who produced the Cadiz Constitution of 1812. A typical liberal bourgeoisie document described as a constitution written by free men to set men free. I'm gonna need to silently pause and check on the sigbins just to see what is going on there. I'll be right back. And we are back. Apologies for the interruption. Now we may continue. Where were we? Mhm. This constitution extended the rights of men not only to Spaniards in the peninsula, but also to all subjects of Spain. The Cadiz constitution was the result of the efforts of Spanish patriots who organized a provisional government in behalf of King Ferdinand VII while Spain was still in the grip of the Napoleonic occupation. But after the downfall of Napoleon, and upon Ferdinand's return to Spain, the reactionary monarch abrogated the Cadiz constitution and reimposed a regime of absolutism, which could have significant repercussions in the Philippines. Hi, Netzer. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, yes, history is very, very interesting. At least here you don't have to do math, you know. We are now at chapter 9 of Donato Constantinos, the Philippines, a pastor visited. We are just talking about um, the French Revolution inspiring ideas to the Spanish people and their colonies. Now, many people took the proclamation of universal equality to mean that they were henceforth freed of tributes and polos. So, those are taxes and forced labor, since they were now the equals of the Spaniards who had always been exempted from such exactions. This interpretation gained enough currency to force the Governor General to issue a bando or announcement saying that the people had misunderstood the constitutional decree, that the government needed funds for its protection and for the administration of justice. That equality with Spaniards did not exempt them from tributes because Spaniards themselves paid heavier taxes, and that if tributes were abolished, perhaps new and higher taxes would be imposed on them. Oh, Sir Shao, well, he really is like that. Like, he he fights for what he thinks is right. And I'm not really surprised. I've seen that quite a few times. Okay, let's continue. The protests were particularly vehement in Ilocos, where the people vented their wrath not on the Spaniards but on their own principales. You know, the people who are in power locally or the richer ones. To understand this new mass reaction, it is necessary to look into the economic conditions in the Ilocos region during this period. Okay, let's talk about government monopolies. Hold on, let's. Okay. Spain's new colonial policies, which aimed to develop the local economy as a better source of revenue, brought new hardships on the people. The Ilocanos were among the hardest hit because of the operations in their area of the tobacco monopoly established in 1781 and the wine monopoly established in 1786. Long accustomed to manufacturing basi for their own consumption, if you're familiar with basi, it's a type of drink, an alcoholic drink. The Ilocanos were now forbidden to drink their homemade brew and were forced to buy their wine from government stores. So they can't make their own drink, and if they wanted to drink, they'll have to use money to buy wine that they can actually make from government owned places. This was the cause of the so called Pasi Revolt of 1807 in Pidig, Ilocos Sur. The tobacco monopoly, from which the Spanish government derived considerable revenue, was the source of graver resentment among the people. Previously, the people grew their own tobacco and sold or consumed it as they pleased, as they should. But after the institution of the monopoly, the growing and sale of tobacco was supervised by the government. Farmers were assigned production quotas and fined if they did not meet these quotas. Their entire crop had to be sold. Oh my god, I am being raided. Hi, hello. Hello, hello, raiders. Oh, it's Hisako. Hi, Hisako. And hello, raiders. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Nice to meet everyone. Thank you for the follow. Please have a seat. We are having history classes right now. And yes, we are currently reading the Philippines, a pastor visited by Renato Constantino, and I am Phoebe Bakunawa. I'm your hottie with the horns, your internet mom without a firstborn. I am your moon-eating and fortune-telling dragon from the West Philippine Sea. My name is Bibi, but everyone just calls me mommy. Hi, hello, my honeys. Just sit down, please. You're all welcome here. And yes, again, we are reading a history book. This has been like a little tradition here. It's a regular thing. And we are now on chapter 9. We have been reading this book for a while. Hello, Jin and Kapen Preso and Bugs. Hi, hi. Thank you for the follow, Sean Dubs. How are you? So, how was the stream? What were you streaming? Hold on. I have no idea. Oh my god, wait. I should have done that because that would trigger something not nice on my model. But yeah, what were you streaming? Oh, Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. So hi, welcome. I am glad that you are all here. So more people to share history with. Let us continue. Where were we? Okay, so I think we are over here. Their entire crop had to be sold to the government, which even went to the extent of sending agents to search the houses of the hapless farmers for any stray tobacco leaves they might have kept for their own use. Like, not even leaves, like, not even a tiny bit. They're not allowed to use it or sell it on their own. Everything must go to the government. Obviously, they were pissed about that. The whole operation was graft-ridden. The farmers were paid in vouchers, which they had to cash at a ruinous discount, with government officials or with merchants who were licensed to supply the provinces with necessities. Sounds familiar? Yes, it's the same thing that happened like several decades or maybe hundreds of years ago with the local priests who were basically buying their their products at very low prices and then selling it off at higher prices. And this time it's government sanctioned. They can't do anything about it. It's the law. Now let's continue. Okay, very often the poor farmers were even forced to exchange their vouchers for articles which they did not need. The government agents cheated the farmers by certifying that their tobacco was of lower grade and then reporting the same exact tobacco that they said was lower grade to the government as being of a higher grade. The difference in price went into their own pockets. Like, I know this still happens today. Like in the government. Hi, hello, DepEd. With your overpriced laptops, I can see you. These various abuses, ancillary to the tobacco monopoly, were sources of profit for the gobernadorcillos, the cabezas de barangay, and the local merchants. These profits were used to buy lands and expand business operations. It was therefore becoming quite clear to the oppressed farmers that their principales constituted an additional burden on them. Other poor farmers who had to plant food crops in order to meet the shortages caused by the assignments of land to tobacco were also suffering from the usurious rates charged by money lenders. Still, others lost their lands by the Pacto de Retroventa and ultimately become tenants. So as you can see, the structure that they are living in is very, very oppressive and against them because they were planting tobacco and all of a sudden the government comes in and they're like, now you have to plant tobacco for us and then we will buy it from you. And there are quotas, you can't sell it anywhere else, but when we buy it from you, we will be buying it at a price that is way too low, and then we will sell it at a price that is way higher. And then those people who were planting new crops, because all these land was used for tobaccos, so other farmers have to make up for it, right? They didn't really have the money to put into this because you need money to make crops grow. You need to buy seed, you need to buy fertilizer and equipment, stuff like that. So they would borrow money from lenders, and these lenders, they charged arm and a leg. So everyone was just getting poorer. Okay, let's move on to the next part, against the principales. So the principales, for those who have forgotten their elementary and high school education, or are not from the Philippines, or you've been listening to me for a while but you forgot what they are. The principales are the rich. They're the people who are not exactly the ones in power, because the ones in power are the priests and the government. They're all from Spain, but these are like the descendants of the chiefs, of the leaders of the barangays back then. And then, since the Spaniards want them to cooperate with them, they were assigned a higher status than the common folk. So these are the principales. They're also locals, but they were like treated at a higher level. Given these conditions, it is not surprising that when mounting resentment erupted in revolt, the people directed their anger against the principales who have been accommodated in the colonial system as intermediaries. Were now not only incidental beneficiaries but active exploiters. They were also locals. They were also natives, but they were exploiting the other natives alongside with these colonizers. Yes, exactly. They became the people who collect tax, but also at the same time, they were doing corruption. you know, Sinibaldo Demas comments on the unrest in Ilocos. The Principales were the aim of the popular wrath in the Ilocano insurrection in 1807. Kill all the dons and doñas was the cry, while the people hastened toward the capital to petition for the abolition of the monopolies and the fiefs. So they were crying to kill the Principales instead of the Spaniards because they saw the Principales as oppressors as well. This cry of the people was a clear indication of a growing consciousness of differentiation between themselves and the indigenous wealthy families, an alienation from their traditional leaders who had gone over to the side of the oppressors. And I would like to emphasize this part because if you have listened to the first parts of this series, we have established that the leaders, the traditional leaders of the locals, they were not like royalty. They were not like, how trapos are nowadays. They were just members of the society that they're in that help other people. So what they would do is they're the ones who will assign the usage of the land. They don't own the land. No, no, no. The land was a communal property, but they're the ones who will assign the use of the land just so that, it's not going to be messy or anything. And people would respect them because of what they do for the community and not just because they're rich or any other reason. There was a mutual benefit between the leaders and the people that they are leading. But now, when the Spaniards came, this all changed. They became the tax collectors. They became like the middle ground between the local people who are just regular people and the Spaniards, the colonizers. And they started to see the benefit of that, and they became like the colonizers who were oppressing their own people. We now see the beginnings of mass movements with class content directed against foreign and local exploiters and putting forward demands of an egalitarian nature. Economic unrest also manifested itself in preoccupation with egalitarianism in the local religious movements of that time. When we say egalitarianism, we mean everyone should be treated equally and not like this, where there are social hierarchies where the locals are at the very bottom. Well, not really. I think during this time, the Chinese were still considered lower than the locals for some reason. Now, there were attempts to establish a new religion in the name of an old native god called Lungao, who promised equality. A man who called himself a new Christ appeared to the fishermen, announcing that true redemption consisted of equality for all and freedom from monopolies and tributes. You remember? We also had this in I forgot what chapter, but a few chapters ago. They kind of used their old gods and goddesses, diwatas, to try and get people to agree with them that, oh, we must revolt. And there are also times when they would use Catholicism, because during this time Catholicism has already taken its hold on most of the people. Conditions were ripe for the Sarat revolt in 1815. The expectations kindled by the Cadiz Constitution, only to be snuffed out by its abolition, provided merely the spark that ignited a long, smoldering resentment, because they've been oppressed and being exploited for a very, very long time. They just needed this tiny little spark. Illusory equality. What interested the people most about the Constitution was the question of polos and servicios, the obligation to contribute personally to community work such as roads and bridges, since the principales were exempted from these exactions. The masses considered the levies made on them as a violation of the principle of equality because they're not being treated equally. They were being taxed and the principales were not. This is not to say that the people had thorough knowledge of the provisions of this constitution, nor of the complex political battle between liberalism and reaction that produced it and saw its dissolution. They did not need such an understanding to react. It was enough that information regarding this point on equality seeped down to some of them from principale ranks for the news to spread. When the word of abrogation of the Constitution reached Ilocos, the Kailianes or common people refused to believe it regarding the announcement as a fabrication by their rich compatriots and by the Spaniards in order to deprive them of their rights. They therefore vowed vengeance on all the principales. In almost all towns, the masses assaulted the town hall and freed the prisoners, so it was total chaos. Okay, now we talk about plebeian revolt. The Kailianes of Sarat proclaimed their rebellion on March 3, 1815. In Sarat, there was even more cause than elsewhere for an explosion of mass violence against the principales. The town had a thriving weaving industry, so that's their main thing. The principales of the town used to give workers silk and cotton thread to be woven into cloth. Not surprisingly, the rich usually cheated the poor, often claiming that the cloth was badly woven or of inferior weight, and then reducing the payment or refusing to pay altogether. In the afternoon of March 3, shouts were heard all over town, and in the plaza, a crowd rapidly gathered, armed with swords, bows, and arrows, and pikes. The Gobernadorcillo attempted to send word to the Alcalde Mayor but failed to do so because the rebels had posted sentries at all the exits from the town. The town priest tried to address the crowd, which received him with shouts and surrounded him, brandishing their arms. So obviously that was a failure. The majority kissed his hand and asked for his blessing, but told him that they had vowed to kill all the principales, including their women and children there, and not leaving one alive, and to take all the property and jewelry of the convents. So you might be wondering, wow, that is so harsh. Well, you must remember, the principales, they don't get elected. It was like, if your father is a principales, then obviously you're going to be a principales. So if they left children and women, there will still be principales. Okay, so if tarot is not a thing that you were into, I would probably just get you an oracle card. Okay, let me just get this one. I am pulling a card out of this. I forgot the name of this deck, but hold on, let me just get it. Let's see what card there is for Netizzer. Okay, we have The moment I realign with love, clear direction is presented to me. So, what I'm getting from this card is that there are negative emotions inside you that you might be doing things not with like a good reason in mind. Like, there is some hate in there. So, it's telling you that you have to realign yourself with love, not just for other people, but mostly for yourself. And if you are looking for a direction right now, you don't know what to do, you are confused, the moment that you start to love yourself, accept yourself and your situation, it will be much clearer for you. You will figure out what you want to do. You will figure out where you would want to go. And another thing that I'm seeing from this card is that once you do start loving yourself again the way you're supposed to, there's going to be something new that you didn't expect to come out from yourself. Like, I see a project, or like maybe a new thing that will be very, very fruitful. It's something like, giving birth, but not in the physical sense. But you are going to make something that will be there after you were gone and would touch the lives of other people. So that's what I got for your card. Thank you, Netzer. And hi, hello, Urza. We are currently reading Renato Constantino's A Past Revisited. Again, we are now on chapter 9. I just gave Netzer a little reading. I hope that helped you in some way or form. Let me just put that back and continue with our book. Now, where was I? So, again, we are in somewhere in Ilocos, and they were trying to kill all the principales, trying to kill even their children. They're not leaving any of them alive, not the women, not the children. They're all going down. And now the priests were like sent there to try to calm them, because it is a tactic that would be repeated again and again. The priests are going to be their line of defense, because the people loved the church. They believed in Christianity. So the priest went there, the people kissed his hands, but they were like, please bless us, but at the same time, we're going to kill these motherfucking principales. That didn't help. Yes, thank you for the lurk, Urza. Okay. The priests tried to dissuade the rebels from their purpose, but they turned their backs on him and proceeded to the town hall, where they attacked some officials and destroyed the town records. Why destroy the town records? Because that's how they know who they will tax, right? Who they will go to buy all these stuff. And basically, they fucked over the operation. They sounded their drums, which were answered by other drums in the houses of the masses. So this is not just the people who are in the town hall working. It's the people all around. Everyone is in on this. Each house then hoisted a white flag as a sign that they were not principales. And as a manifestation of alliance, soon the number of rebels reached 1,500. So for those of you who don't speak whatever language this is, what is 1,500? That is 1,500. Thank you for the alert. Okay. So they recreated that one scene in the Bible. I forgot what it is. I don't read the Bible. Where they mark their doors so that they will be spared. It's kind of like that, but this one they raise a white flag to signify that they are not principales and they will not be massacred. They went to the biggest houses around the plaza and, disregarding the pleas of the curate, killed or wounded a principal and two women, one of them the priest's housekeeper, who is noted for her avarice in her transaction with the weavers. They also killed other pro-Spanish residents. So it wasn't just the principales that they killed. They have not really forgotten that they hate the Spanish, and if you were for them, then good luck. Die, I guess. Victory of the Principales. But of course, the priest hid in the church with most of the Principales. The rebels then entered the convent, took 1,200 pesos fuertes, and destroyed the images. So you might be wondering, 1,200 pesos, it's not that a big deal. But you must remember, this is like way back. So 1,200 pesos is a big amount of money. At night, the rebels rested but left sentinels around the plaza to prevent the escape of principales hidden in the church. The next day, they issued an edict prohibiting, on pain of death, any Kailian from sheltering in his house, any of the principales, doñas, or their children. Then they continued looting the houses of the rich. This is basically Eat the Rich pre-colonial edition. They captured the gobernadorcillos and two regidores, tied them up, and took them to the plaza. There, Simon Tomas, one of the leaders, questioned the principales as to their motives for abolishing the privileges granted them by the king. The principales explained that the Cadiz constitution had been abrogated, but the rebels refused to believe them and instead decided to kill them anyway. However, the priest who was called to hear the prisoners' last confession was able to prevail on the rebels to suspend their execution. On the first afternoon of the uprising, two groups of 200 men each went to the towns of San Nicolas and Pidig. The group that went to San Nicolas took to the town hall and the convent, killed two principales, captured 9, and took some loot. The rebels then tried to go to Lawag, hoping to recruit new followers along the way, but instead, some principales were able to gather enough people on their side to force the rebels to retreat back to Sarat, where the other group also returned after sacking the houses of principales in Pindig. Meanwhile, the principales of other towns had gathered 600 armed men. These joined the Spanish infantry and cavalry sent by the Alcalde Mayor, and together they marched on Sarat. The rebels announced that if they were attacked, the principales, doñas, meaning their wives, and their families would be killed. The priest talked to the villagers, warning them of the punishment that awaited them and reminding them of the pain of eternal damnation, to which they were exposing their souls by their recalcitrance. So basically, they were saying, if you don't stop that shit, you're gonna burn in hell. The rebels wavered in their resolve because, again, back then, Catholicism already had its claws deep down everyone's necks. And once you tell them that, oh, you're not gonna get to heaven, you're gonna go to hell, they get scared. There was even a revolution that started because of this, because someone's brother, I think that was Dagohoy's brother, was like not allowed to get buried in proper Christian burial ground, and so he started this whole ass revolution. So yeah, still the Spanish forces entered Sarat and set it on fire. Some leaders fled to the mountains, others were caught and imprisoned. Advance and retreat. The Sarat revolt was both an advance and a retreat in the history of people's struggle. While the rebels of Sara demonstrated an advance in consciousness in their awareness of their exploitation by the native elite as well as their demands for equality, this egalitarian demand was premised on acceptance of Spain's sovereignty. Like, think of it this way. They only realized that, hey, fuck these elite people, eat the rich, when they thought that there was a rule in the law of Spain's government that made them equal. So, on one side, it's like, hey, they're finally realizing that it's not just the Spanish that are keeping them down. It's also their own people. But at the same time, it's kind of weird because they're accepting the law. They're like following the law. And they're only mad because these people didn't follow the law. Hi, hello, General Custard. Yes. We are now at chapter 9. Oh, thank you. Thank you for reminding me to drink. Let me just get my water bottle. Also, everyone, please hydrate as well. Okay, there we go. The rebels merely sought better accommodation within the colonial framework, so they're not really thinking of getting out of the grasps of the colonizers. They still think that, we should be working this thing better to our whatever the fuck that we can work with, because it's really hard to break free from such a mindset when you were born into it. You don't think that there is any other way. Like when you were born into a family wherein your parents are abusing you, you don't really realize that they're abusing you, so you just want better treatment and not get out of the house. So it's kind of like that for them. Furthermore, although they regarded the wealth of the church as part of their riches amassed through exploitation, the rebels retained their customary respect for priestly council even in political matters. They can't really take that away, that they would respect their priests, because it's important to them that when they die, they don't go to Catholic hell. The uprising exhibited some ingenious examples of mass action, but its limited ideological horizon and untenable military position inside a besieged town doomed it to a quick end. Still, and all, the anti-Principalia aspect of the Sarat rebellion marked a definite stage in the people's struggles with which in the future would be developed to a higher level by the people. Okay. Let me just check on some. Okay. Now we are at sense of racial equality. The frustrated desire for equal rights, this time in the area of religion, was the root cause of another revolt in the southern Tagalog region. The impulse toward religious nativism as an expression of resentment and protest had all but died down in the face of over 2 centuries of Catholic proselytization. So it's been over 200 years. The return to the old gods, which used to be a persistent feature of early uprisings, gave way to the adoption by rebels of modified forms of Catholic religions and its rites, as in Tapar's revolt in Panay that we already studied in chapter 7. This indicated a halfway hold by the church over the minds of the people. They rejected the institution because of its participation in colonial oppression, but they did not repudiate its beliefs and rituals. They just hate that they're being oppressed by the church, but they still believe the religion itself. The religious movement led by Apolinario de la Cruz, not to be confused with Apolinario Mabini, no, not the same, constituted a logical development in that it was born out of his desire for equal standing within the church. Revolts with religious content thus became transformed into their opposites, from movements rejecting the Catholic religion to protests against being denied status within the church hierarchy. Okay, let's talk about Hermano Pule. You might be familiar with this name. Hermano Pule, as Apolinario de la Cruz came to be called, yes, it's the same exact person, was the son of a devout Catholic peasant. He went to Manila in 1839 hoping to join a monastic order. He wanted to be a priest, or what do you call the other one? A monk. But his application was rejected because he was a native. They were like, nope, you're a native, you don't have Spanish blood, we can't accept you. He then founded the Cofradia de San Jose, which quickly gained numerous adherents in Tayabas, Laguna, and Batangas. Where is that? I lost. Okay. Members made regular contributions, which Hermano Pule used to defray the cost of a monthly mass in Lokban, Tayabas, and a monthly fiesta for his followers. So basically, he was like, fuck y'all, I'll establish my own church. Despite the frustration of his clerical ambitions, Pule must have continued to regard himself as a regular Catholic up to this time, for he applied for ecclesiastical recognition for his confraternity. The church, however, refused, labeling his organization heretical. When they say that you're a heretic, it means that what you're doing or you're saying is against the church. They did not agree to it. Bad, bad. Another version has it that the priests in Lukban doubled the fees for his mass, because he was like accepting money from the people so that he could hold masses, but he had to pay these priests so that could happen. And some are saying that these priests doubled the fees. Pule balked at paying the new rate, whereupon the clerics ordered the dissolution of his brotherhood. Dissolution meaning stop that shit. No more Church of Hermano Pule. No more. And its expulsion from Lokban. Yes. That's the Tagalog term, herehe. A heretic. Now, where were we? From then on, the group was continually harassed, its meetings raided, and some of its members were arrested. The fact that only pure-blooded natives were allowed to join the confraternity led the Spaniards to suspect that religion was being used as a blind for political designs, because, they were really paranoid about that. Taking to mind that there have been several uprisings for the past couple of years, not just a couple of years, decades, centuries. De la Cruz's early attempts to secure ecclesiastical recognition for his group would seem to belie Spanish suspicions. The exclusion of Spaniards and mestizos, so it's not just the pure Spaniards. If you're not fully native, your mom and your dad must be native, not half-half, was probably only a natural retaliation for the discrimination that he had suffered, because obviously he was discriminated due to his lineage. He was not Spanish, and therefore he was not allowed inside the group that he wanted to be in. So when he made his own group, he was like, oh, you excluded me, now I will exclude you. However, the movement of the church refused to recognize confraternity. Pule and his followers became insurgent in their attitude towards both the church and the state. So it wasn't like he was rebelling in the beginning. He just wanted his own church as, a big fuck you to the church that didn't want him in. But because of all these things happening to him and his church, they were being harassed and all that, things changed a little bit. The group became a breakaway sect, claiming that its leader had direct heavenly support. So, coming from like a group that actually believed in all the teachings of the Catholic Church, they wanted to be under that. Now it's a totally different thing. They're like, oh, we're no longer taking that whole Roman Catholic thing. Our leader is like king of the Tagalogs. Yes. They said that he had direct heavenly support and therefore invulnerable. He was like holy or something like that. Alarmed by the rapid growth of the movement, the provincial authorities, pressed by the friars, requested military assistance from the governor general. The latter sent 2 infantry companies, 1 artillery battery, and some cavalry to Tayabas. Members of the confraternity constructed fortifications in Alitaw and seemed prepared to fight. But when the soldiers charged, Pule's followers fled. They got scared. Pule and his aides, a man called Purgatorio, were captured, which is funny because the man's name literally means purgatory, like somewhere in between heaven and hell, a limbo of some sorts. After a hasty trial, they were both executed, dead. Their bodies was dismembered, chopped, and exhibited in the principal towns of southern Tayabas, to serve as a warning to other people. Pulu was then only 27 years old. He was very young. Origin of colorums. Now, when you hear the word colorum, what comes to your mind? It usually refers to public transports, right? Welcome back. Yes. It usually refers to vans or buses or jeepneys that did not have like an operator. So they didn't really have like a constant route. They would be usually people would think, oh, don't ride that one. That one's a colorum. But this is a different type of colorum. So after Puli died, the remnants of Cofradia retreated to the mountains between Tayabas and Laguna. So you remember, his people, his friends, his little church, they ran away. Even if in the beginning they wanted to fight, they ran away, and then Pule and his little friend Purgatorio, they died, and horribly at that. They got chopped up and their bodies got displayed there. Now the people who ran away retreated in the mountains again, common theme. Going back to the mountains, the mountain of San Cristobal with its caves, waterfalls, and mountains, streams, which Pule's faithful named after biblical places and persons, became the sect's holy land. Later, religious groups also consider this mountain their Jerusalem, so they totally just ripped off the Catholic thing and they were like, this is ours now, we have our own Jerusalem. Because the members were so devout, they were just scared. They didn't really lose their faith, they just got scared. That's why they ran away. The group came to be called Colorum, a corruption of the et secula seculorum used at mass to end certain prayers. During the American occupation, the name colorum was used by other groups and also applied by the authorities to a wide variety of rebel organizations with mystical characteristics. politics. In fact, by the 1930s, the term colorum had become a common word used to describe any illegal activity. That's why we call those buses and vans and jeepneys colorum now, because, like, that's not legal, honey. Okay, they actually have it here. For example, in certain provinces, a private car that is hired out as a taxi without being licensed for that purpose is called a colorum. The more you know. The cofradia's earlier demand for status within the church may be regarded as a part of the growing protest for equal rights, which, in its religious aspect, would culminate in the fight for the Philippinization of the clergy. The social and economic basis for these apparently purely religious protests is readily perceived if we recall the economic and social prominence of religious institutions in the Philippine society. Priesthood has the highest professional standing. Everyone respects you if you're a priest. Well, at least back then. Therefore, the goal of many an ambitious family was to have one of its sons become a priest. Because if your son is a priest, everyone respects him, and therefore your family gets respected as well by association. Okay, next one. Repercussions. The suppression of Hermano Pule or Apolinario de la Cruz's revolt had its repercussions in Manila, where soldiers from Tayabas quartered in Malate attacked Fort Santiago. The mutiny was, however, quickly suppressed. Evidence of support or sympathy for Hermano Pule's movement may be deduced from the following portion of the report of Juan Mata, Intendant of the Army and Treasury. Notwithstanding the royal order of April 25th, 1837, prohibiting publications that might disturb public order and weaken the prestige of the government, such publications have circulated fully in Manila, thus increasing the discontent. In such publications, the followers of Apolinario are called innocent, and the execution of the rebels in the camp of Alitaw has been termed assassination. There were other indications of rising popular unrest, not only in the provinces but also in Manila and other urban centers, and not only among the civilian population but among the native soldiers as well. This unrest was fundamentally the byproduct of economic development. The rise of the hacienda system, which we discussed during the last time that we read this book, was to a great extent based on the expropriation of numerous small farmers. Meaning, it's kind of, well, not kind of, but totally exploitative. The decline of certain local industries as a result of the inroads of foreign trade brought acute deprivation to whole communities. Economic progress itself nurtured a popular consciousness more acutely aware of injustice and inequality, the fruit of more efficient means of exploitation. One byproduct of the development of an export crop economy was the decline in the acreage planted to rice. From being a rice exporting country which used to ship as much as 800,000 quintals, which is 100 kilograms of rice, in China yearly, the Philippines began to suffer rice shortages, which is fucking weird because, we produce rice. and eventually became an importer of rice. Sounds familiar? Sounds familiar in recent history? While export crops were certainly more profitable for large landowners and traders, rice shortages were great hardship on the people. So, as you can see, the people who are rich are earning from the rice shortage, while the common man, the poor people, they're the ones taking the brunt of it all. Self-sufficiency in the staple crop was a hedge against hunger. A poor tenant who planted something he could not eat and had to buy his daily rice was that much more at the mercy of the landowner and the trader. To feed his family, he either borrowed money from the landowner at usurious rates. Again, this is a theme. Since you can't eat what you're planting, you're going to borrow money. And when you borrow money, there's always interest. And the interest is fucking ridiculous. It's either that or they sold their share of the produce to the Chinese merchant prematurely, not when it's like in its full growth. And it's gonna be a very, very low price. So, yeah, neither of which is very good for them. Yes, it is. That's exactly what it is. It's a debt trap. Good evening, Illuminante. The entry of English textiles destroyed the local weaving industry. The local cloth could not compete with the much cheaper products of Britain's textile mills. I think we talked about the English developing their textile industry a few chapters ago, and now they've come to the Philippines, or at least the land that we now come to call the Philippines, and it's destroying the local weaving industry. Although textile exports rose in value between 1818 and 1864, after the latter year their importance quickly declined. By 1890, textile exports amounted to only 10,455 pesos. Although you think, oh, it's been a long time ago, it must be a big amount of money, but that is the whole industry. Remember that one priest ran away with but with 1,500 pesos. So imagine the whole freaking industry. That's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times, no, 6 or 7 times that amount of that person, the one that they got. So yeah, this is not a very, very good number. These developments brought economic destitution to the traditional weaving regions, of course. The number of people affected may be gauged from the estimate that in the 1870s there were 60,000 looms on Panay Island alone. You know, that one island of Panay? There were 60,000 looms, so there were at least 60,000 people who were using them who now didn't have a very, very good industry to work with. The British Vice Consul reporting from Iloilo in 1887 described the inroads made by Glasgow textiles, which were 50% cheaper than the local hand-woven material. Instead of using the traditional native material, women were now buying the cheaper imported cloth for their patajongs because obviously it's cheaper. Times are hard. Their rice were being bought very, very cheaply and being sold very, very expensive. If you're going to buy clothes, you might scrimp on it. So the weaving industry took a big hit. The weaving of pinya, sinamay, and juicy, husi, I'm not really sure how to pronounce this, which used to be the practically the only industry in certain districts of Iloilo before sugar growing was introduced, likewise declined. From being the daily wear of the people, these local materials became luxuries only the rich could afford. So it's just like today, wherein our um, pinya cloth would be more expensive than, I don't know, say things that are from China that you can buy from Shopee. It's just like that. So the industry would not grow very, very big if the competition has ridiculously cheap prices. While economic development was causing painful dislocations in the life of the masses, it was proving very profitable for numerous foreign firms, particularly the British and the Americans. By the 1880s, England and her possessions had become the principal trading partners of the Philippines, with the United States coming in second. In the latter part of the 19th century, foreign firms established cigarette factories, a sugar refinery, and a cement factory. They went into rice processing and the manufacture of such commodities as cotton cloth, rope, umbrellas, and hats. Foreign traders exported Philippine tobacco and Manila cigars all over the world and hemp to Europe and United States. By 1898, all major commercial nations had agents in Manila. Around 300 European virtually monopolized the import export trade. So obviously, the Europeans were the ones who are in charge. Foreign firms continued to do business even during the revolution and the resistance against the United States. In fact, foreign companies paid licenses and custom duties to the revolutionary government to continue their business operations. During the Philippine American War, the produce contributed by the people to the Aguinaldo movement was sold to foreign merchants, and the money was used to finance the war effort. Okay, cultural changes. Economic development, which had its initial impetus in the 1750s, inevitably led to changes in consciousness among its local beneficiaries. Wealth made possible that the acquisition of education and Spanish culture by Chinese mestizos and urbanized natives. The educational reforms of 1863, besides improving the standards of education in the primary levels, opened the doors of higher institutions of learning to many natives because before that, educating the natives wasn't really in the list of their priorities. They could now study law, medicine, or pharmacy. Many young men from prosperous Chinese mestizo and native families studied in Manila, and wealthier families sent their sons to Spain. So, just like Rizal and other Ilustrado friends. Thus, the cultural merger of these two sectors was being realized. Their economic status assured them social and political influence. Eventually, they became the disseminators of Spanish culture and of liberal thought. Focus on the liberal thought. It's going to be important later on. The opening of the Suez Canal in 1869 and the establishment of a regular steamship service between Manila and Europe further facilitated the influx of the liberal ideas that were current in that continent. More Spaniards settled in the Philippines. They were businessmen, professionals, and former bureaucrats who, having lost their posts during the many turnovers in the administrative personnel during the 19th century, elected to stay in the country. Most of them helped in the dissemination of liberal ideas. In Manila and its environs, economic progress created a growing native group of small landowners, city workers, and small shopkeepers who readily absorbed its new liberal ideas. They became part of the reform movement and later on the revolution. Fun, fun, fun! Let me just take a couple of sips from my water bottle. And now we will be talking about intellectual ferment. If economic progress became the foundation of cultural unification, it was likewise the bearer of intellectual ferment. This was due not only to the influx of new ideas from abroad, but also to the realization of the economically advancing groups that their upward climb was being restricted by the imperatives of the colonial policy. At first, the conflict was between the Creoles and the Peninsulares, Creoles being those who were mixed blood, and the Peninsulares, those who actually live in Spain. Oh no, the people. No, wait, I got that mixed up. Those were insulares. The Peninsulares were full Spanish people. Like their mom, their dad were both Spanish, but they were not born here in the Philippines. They, yeah. With the former complaining that they were not afforded the same opportunities for advancement as the latter. Because obviously, if you had full Spanish blood, you were going to be like favored. They see you as of higher status than if you were half blood. Just like in the Harry Potter movie where they were like, half blood, not good enough, or whatever. And it was kind of like that. The Españoles Filipinos felt they were discriminated against in the matter of government appointments and promotions. When we say Españoles Filipinos, these were like they had Spanish blood, but they were called Filipinos because they were born in the Philippines. Since there were at this time more than 1,000 Creole adults and only about 400 available government positions, the best of which were filled in Madrid and hence reserved for Peninsulares, full-bloods. The Creole aspirants for employment or promotion were frustrated a lot. Their feeling of injustice was sharpened not only by the social discrimination they experienced at the hands of the Peninsulares, but also by their own belief that they should receive preference in matters of appointment because, in their eyes, the Philippines was their country. They were born there. Unfortunately for them, the loss of Spain's colonies in America and the rise and fall of Spanish governments during this politically turbulent period of Spanish history had the effect of increasing the number of peninsular bureaucrats in the country. Because, where else could they go? They didn't have a lot in Spain. They were assigned elsewhere before. So now that that is gone, that is finished, they went to the Philippines because, hey, we're still colonizers here. Hello, Mopo. Oh, thank you, sweetie. Mwah. Where were we? The same pattern of discrimination existed in the army. When revolutions broke out in Latin America and the Creoles there arranged themselves on the side of the rebels, the Filipino Creoles in the military also became objects of suspicion because they were like, oh no, they're half-halves, but they're siding with the natives. So, what if our other colonies do that same shit to us and they side-eye the Philippines? That's what's going on. The Creole foothold in the army became more precarious as more peninsular officers were brought over to ensure the loyalty of the army. The army was reorganized. Creole officers were replaced by peninsular officers, Spanish men who were from Spain and not those who were born here or half-halves, or they were placed under the supervision of the latter. So there's a clear hierarchy marking the Peninsulares, the Spanish people who were pure and born in Spain, compared to the Creoles or half-bloods. This discriminatory treatment triggered off the short-lived mutiny in 1823 led by a Creole officer, Captain Andres Novales. So you see, they were not really thinking of a mutiny with the locals, but because Spain was getting paranoid because of what happened to them in the other colonies, they were like, oh, this is danger, so we must place pure-blooded people here, and that kind of stepped on the egos of the Creoles, and they were like, fuck that, we're going to revolt. But it was very, very short-lived. This feeling of injustice seeped down to the ranks of the Chinese mestizos, also half-bloods, who, having prospered much, began likewise to feel the restrictions to their own further economic advancement. The Chinese mestizo had social status among the natives, for he was both landlord and creditor. Moreover, by virtue of his education, his opinions were accorded attention and respect. This widened the base of ferment. Thank you for the lurk, Myeon-san and Happy Bread. Hi, hi, hi. Let's talk about the secularization and Philippinization. One of the manifestations of the native demand for equality, or at least for higher social and economic status, was the eventual transformation of the secularization movement into a fight for the Philippinization of the clergy. The quarrel between regulars and seculars over parish assignments and supervisory rights had been going on for a long time, but it was a fight among Spaniards and hardly involved the few native priests. It was therefore of little concern to native Catholics, except perhaps as it provided them with some insights into the economic basis for the religious dispute between two sections of the hierarchy. With economic development, however, came an increase in the number of native priests. Native families who were among the beneficiaries of material progress could now afford to educate their sons because, being a priest gives you money. That's why a lot of people back then wanted to become priests, whether they were from Spain or they were Filipinos. It's not just the religious aspect of it. It's because the church was highly regarded. They're getting all these offerings and gifts. So the priests, they get cha-ching, and now their families, of course, they were benefiting from it, and from that money they can now send their sons to school. And the priesthood was at that time the best road to status and economic stability. So if you want to make sure that the life of your children would be good, make sure one of them goes into priesthood. That's the thing back then. A royal decree of 1774 ordering the secularization of the parishes was a further stimulus for natives to enter the priestly profession, which coincidentally was somewhat short-handed as a result of the expulsion of the Jesuits in 1786. More native seculars were given parishes of their own, and the more able among them held some rich and important benefices, notably the parish of Antipolo. Mopo! they kick you out? That's horrible. If you want to be rich and single, then be a priest. Yep, that's the thing back then. Like, if you would remember from like the first few chapters, we discussed something similar to this, but back then it was just the Spanish people, because it wasn't really going that great in Spain back then. There was a lot of things going on. So when they found out that there were they needed people to go to the Philippines, or the islands that we know now as the Philippines, a lot of them went, and they came here mostly to be priests because they know that it was lucrative. So, a lot of the injustices happened back then because the people who were coming here, the priests, were not really religious per se. They're not in there because they love God. They became priests because they know there's money in there. I'm not saying that this is the case for the priests nowadays, or, back then, all of them. It's not all of them, but a lot of them came here for the money, for the financial gain. And back then, it was just the Spanish. But now, when they allowed the locals to become priests as well, and there was a way for them to get out of poverty, a lot of them are sending their sons to become priests. Okay, let me just read this real quick. My mom told me the story. Apparently, I punched a classmate. He had woke up with a black eye. Extra details. The teacher told my mom. I shouted Hadouken as I did it. Well, you know what? Things like that happen. Kids, we just need to teach them better. We don't need to kick them out or anything like that. Because the only thing that teaches to a child is that if I don't like the school, I just Hadouken someone. Right? Did you learn anything from that? From getting kicked out? Yes, Nettizer. They were not really doing well in Spain. That's why they went here. If you would remember from, I forgot which one. Is it Noli or El Fili? The guy with the limp, the husband of the Doña. He was some Spanish guy with a limp, not really handsome, not really rich. He was like faking his profession, but he was Spanish, so he automatically had higher like status here. That's why they went here. Exactly, mopo. So you see, kids don't learn from whatever. Yes, Doña Victorina's husband. He was like not really doing well in Spain as well, right? So there he was. So that's where the whole Victorina thingy stems from, because it was happening in reality that these people, these Spanish men who were not doing so hot over there on the side of the globe, would come over here and become these important people, and they get rich. And those who were really, really smart about it, they would choose to become priests because that's where the money is. Okay, let's continue. So, like other sectors of the local elite, the native priests were finding out that their own advancement was being impeded by the Spaniards. Those who held no parishes had been chefing under their friar superiors, who employed them as coadjutors and assigned them to all the burdensome aspects of parish work. They're doing the dirty work. They too reacted with resentment, obviously, at the injustice and discrimination they were subjected to. This sharpened their awareness of their separate national identity, a consciousness which was transmitted to their native parishioners. The demand for Philippinization became one of the rallying cries of the steadily growing sentiment of nationality. Because, as we have seen, the church has a very strong hold on the Filipinos even back then. So, when even their parish priests think this way, it was so easy to give that same sentiment, voice it out to the people in their local parishes. And so that urge became stronger and stronger. And if you heard, like, what do you call that? A little beep boop sound, that is my phone telling me I need to do work. But I will ignore that because we need to finish this chapter. Okay, let us continue. It should be noted that towards the last part of the 19th century, the secular priests were either Creoles, mestizos, or natives. Thus, the fight for secularization inevitably became anti-peninsular and was recognized as such. So in the beginning, there was mostly peninsulares, the Spanish who were actually from Spain. But as time went on, you can't really build more churches if you have like very few priests. So they accepted mestizos, natives, Creoles, and they outnumbered the pure Spanish people from Spain. And with number comes power. So lay peninsulars were pro-regular and lay Creoles were pro-secular. It also should be emphasized that the demand for Philippinization of the parishes encompassed not only the native clergy, but also the Creole and the Spanish mestizo priests. Because again, they were half-bloods and they were born in the Philippines. So they believed that they had more claim to the land than the Spanish people who were not born there. They were also Spanish, but their edge was that they were born in the Philippines. That was their thinking. In fact, the term Philippinization, it implies that a fight has begun as an attempt by Españoles Filipinos. So they're Spanish by blood, or like their parents were Spanish, but they were born here. But they call themselves Filipino because they were born in the Philippines, to assert themselves vis-a-vis the peninsular friars, the people who were in no way born here, or they don't even have native blood. Now, Father Jose Burgos of the Manila Cathedral, one of the prominent leaders of the movement, was himself 3/4 Spanish. So that means that on one side, maybe his mom or his dad is full Spanish, but the other parent is a half-half. And he held important religious positions because he was considered a Spaniard. So even if he was considered Spaniard, he had Filipino blood. In 1870, there occurred a new wave of curacy grabbing by the friars. Hold on. Wait. The rancor of Creole, Mestizo, and native seculars was such that the Archbishop of Manila was moved to send a letter of protest to the Spanish government, warning that such ill treatment of Filipino priests might undermine their loyalty to Spain. The appeal was, of course, futile. But barely 2 years later, the controversy over secularization and Philippinization, which had begun to fan popular ferment, Although it was essentially a rivalry among the religious, was formally linked to the people's general struggle by a reactionary administration, overreacting to the Cavite Mutiny of 1872, which we will talk about right now. Now, the Cavite Mutiny of 1872 marked the beginning of a new stage in the escalating unrest. So, in the government, the Creoles and the locals were like getting mad because of the unfair treatment between them and the peninsulares. In the church there's the same thing, so yeah, there's a lot of unrest going on. Another swing from liberalism to reaction had taken place in Spain and was reflected in the arrival of 1871 of Rafael de Izquierdo to take over the governorship from the liberal Carlos Maria de la Torre. Izquierdo promptly suspended or revised De La Torre's liberal decrees and classified as personas sospechosas or suspicious people. Educated persons who had supported De La Torre's policies. It was this attitude of Izquierdos that was to give the Cavite Mutiny greater significance than it actually had. Since 1740, the workers in the arsenal and the artillery barracks and engineer corps of Fort San Felipe in Cavite had enjoyed exemption from tribute and forced labor. When Izquierdo abolished these privileges abruptly, of course, the men in the fort mutinied. They were mad about it. They were not supposed to give tribute. They were not supposed to do forced labor. They're not used to that. Of course, they mutinied. Although the mutiny was suppressed in less than a day and no other actions followed, the Spaniards, under the leadership of Izquierdo, proclaimed it was part of a widespread separatist conspiracy, overreacting. But maybe not, because like everyone hated them, obviously. But actually, it was nothing more than a localized expression of protest against a particular injustice. But the reactionaries chose to use it as an excuse for instituting a reign of terror. This was their preemptive action against the discontent that, during the tenure of the liberal De La Torre, had surfaced in criticism of various aspects of Spanish rule and in demands for equal treatment. Since the current demands for secularization and Philippinization were particularly distasteful to the friars, they took advantage of the incident to accuse Gomburza, you know them, not Majoha, Gomburza, besties, Fathers Jose Burgos, Mariano Gomez, and Jacinto Zamora of being leaders of the Cavite conspiracy. Gomez and Zamora were prominent native clerics. Burgos, the one that we were talking about earlier, is a Spanish mestizo and had been particularly active in the movement of for secularization and Filipinization. The three priests were arrested, given a mock trial, meaning, we're just doing this to show that we had a trial, and publicly garroted. I how do I explain garrote? Basically, they were kind of strangled to death in front of everybody with the bag over their head. It's so sad, besties. All three protested their innocence to the end because obviously they were innocent. They didn't do anything. Many other prominent persons, priests, professionals, and businessmen, mestizos and natives alike, were arrested and sentenced to long-term prisons or banishment. Hold on. I just lost my... Okay, there it is. Against the peninsulars. The persecution of liberal Creoles, mestizos, and native ilustrados on charges that they were plotting against Spanish sovereignty only gave them a greater feeling of affinity toward one another. Because that is the one thing that was binding them. They were being persecuted, they were being um, discriminated upon. A common grievance produced a deeper awareness of their community of interests as against the peninsulares. Because when you are oppressed, you can recognize oppression whether or not you were experiencing that, which is why you would see that movements like in the LGBT community, they are supporting Black Lives Matter. They're supporting the movement that is fighting for the rights of women because they know what it feels like. And that is also what happened then. Although they were different, they were all experiencing oppression. And so they felt that, oh, we're not that different. We have a common grievance. And we have a common enemy, which is the Peninsulares, who are abusing them. Thus, oh, thank you for the hydrate. Um, Thus, 1872 marks a new stage in the growing consciousness of a separate national identity where the concept of Filipino used to have a racial and later a cultural limitation. The repression that followed the Cavite Mutiny made the three racial groups, Creoles, Mestizos, and Natives, join hands and become conscious of their growing development as a Filipino nation. So before this, when you say a Filipino, they only meant the Spanish people who were born in the Philippines. They were not actually native, they were just born there. But since they were facing the same struggles, they recognized each other as brothers. And therefore, the Filipino nation became um, more unified. So now it's not just those um, Philippine born Spanish who are now Filipinos. It included the mestizos, meaning half bloods, and even the natives, even if they didn't have Spanish blood, they didn't gatekeep that. You and I are facing the same struggles. You and I are both Filipinos. Fighting the friars and as Spaniards. The palpably unjust and unwarranted execution of the three priests released great waves of resentment. Hello, Isai! Thank you for the bits and thank you for the stretch and the hydrate. We are now at page 144, Fighting the Friars as Spaniards. The palpably unjust and unwarranted execution of the three priests released great waves of resentment. Although one of them, Burgos, was a three-fourths Spaniard, the authorities regarded all three as Indios. You see, they kind of stripped him of his status as someone who has Spanish blood. Three-fourths. He's only one-fourth native, but they were like, nope, you're an Indio now, thus giving the native three ready-made martyrs. Because even if he was three-fourths Spaniard, he died as one of them. He might be born mostly a full Spaniard, but he died a Filipino. Among a people in whom the Catholic faith had been ingrained for centuries, this execution of the three priests had grave repercussions. Oh, Illuminante, I hope that you rest well. Get well soon, darling. placed the fight for Philippinization of the parishes squarely with the mainstream of the people's unrest. So it's not just the one thing that's going on. You have a general unrest because of all the things that have been happening for the past few centuries, and then there is the thing in the parishes where they're like, we want Philippinization, we don't want these peninsulares ruling over us anymore. It is not far-fetched to surmise that having priests on their side freed the people psychologically from intellectual bondage to the friars. Because for so many years, for centuries, at least two, they were being subdued by friars. They were being scared because of, your souls will be damned, you will go to hell, and we will excommunicate you, things like that. But now that they have their own priests, their own people, they're not as scared anymore. For many, fighting the friars meant fighting them as Spaniards and exploiters. It did not mean denying their Catholic faith, since they had Catholic priests on their side. Between 1872 and the outbreak of the Philippine Revolution, a generation of ilustrados came of age, meaning they grew up. Beneficiaries of the educational reforms of 1863 and exponents of liberalism, these young men were now beginning to articulate for the people as a whole those resentments that had motivated their centuries of struggle. Which is why, you know how it's kind of sad for me that there were people saying that, this and that national hero, they had Spanish blood, they were half Chinese, they were not really Filipinos. That is oversimplifying things, because it wasn't the native blood that made them Filipino. It's not their blood, because all of us were all very, very mixed people here. It wasn't their ancestors, it was the common struggle that they dealt with as a group. Maybe in different shapes and forms, but all in all, they all struggled the same thing. And the ilustrados, even if they were richer, even if they had the privilege to study, they used it to liberate those who were below them socially and financially. They did not use their education to join the oppressors. They used their education so that they could emancipate their people who cannot do the same, who did not have the same things that they had when they grew up. They didn't all have a priest, kuya, who would bring in money to the family that could send them to Spain or any other European country. Not everyone had that. But those who did, they quickly realized that, this is not how it's supposed to be. So, between the... Okay, we've passed that. We're now at setting the stage. We're almost done with this chapter. The stage was set for a national action. A closer linkage to world capitalism had remolded the structure of the economy and unified the country, because, before that, the economic system was being ruled by the Spanish, but now it's not just the Spanish. There were English people, Americans trading with them. But capitalist progress meant underdevelopment, for the resources of the country were being used for the development of metropolitan centers of the world. The beginning of progress was the beginning of modern underdevelopment. Prosperity for certain classes bred ambition and discontent. For the masses, it meant greater deprivation, both in the absolute and in the relative sense. The poor kept on getting poorer. They were more exploited, and they felt this exploitation more keenly because they could see the material prosperity of others. Others were getting richer. They were not. They were getting poorer. And at the same time, they now had articulators of their aspiration, although these had motives of their own. The economic and social development of the 19th century changed the complexion of the struggle. The quantitative series of rebellions produced a qualitative leap, the revolution of a nation. The nation was born of the revolution as much as the revolution was the expression of the nation being born. That is very beautiful. I love it. And that is the end of chapter 9. We have the next chapter, chapter 10. We're going to talk about revolution and nationhood. That's okay, Vanilla. I do have my water bottle right beside me. Let me just drink while I go back to the just chatting screen. Oh, thanks for the hydrating netizer. I had that covered right here. Let me just drink once more. Okay. Let me just look at mine. Okay, I need to put this back over here. So, how are y'all feeling? Did that awaken any memories of high school or awaken new realizations in you? I really like this chapter because we started out very slow. We talked about like the background of what was happening in Spain and then what was happening in the Philippines before they landed here, and then slowly everything changed. And with those changes, we see a lot of suffering of the people, a lot of failed mutinies, rebellions for different reasons. But slowly and slowly they're becoming unified. What is that? Parang jowa mong nanlamig. Are you feeling cold? Why don't we all have a huddle? Well, it is kind of cold today because it's been raining where I am at right now. And as you can see, I am wearing this little blankie. I changed. Well, change is not always bad. Change is kind of good sometimes. And in this case, it was for the better. Which was your favorite part of the chapter? Mine was the part where the Gomburza, the tree priests. I don't like the part that they got garroted because obviously that was so barbaric. I like the part that even if one of them was only 1/4 native, he was initially considered a Spaniard, but when he died, the Spanish people were like, nope, you're an Indio now, full Indio, native, to bring him down, and it's an attempt to, besmirch his credibility because they think Spanish people are higher than the Indios. But what that did is that it gave the Filipino people, the natives, the Creoles, the people who are before they were like different, they kind of got a martyr out of that. Like, if you would think about it, only 2 of them were actual Indios. He was not. But now they've got 3 martyrs that they would think about, and this would inspire a lot of them. What? Majoha? I don't like Majoha because it's like Majontot, and I don't like that. Kids, let's not call them Majoha. Let's, keep it at Gomburza. Because, let's give them respect. They deserve it. They died for this country. Even if maybe they didn't really intend it to be that way, but you do know that their death had a very big impact to the people who saw it, particularly the young ilustrados. And although personally I am not very religious, I think that those three priests deserve all the respect that we can give them because they they ignited a lot of young minds and hearts. Oh, Mopo! Oh no, what is Majoha? Here's the thing. I think it was Pinoy Big Brother. Am I right? You know that show. And then they got these young kids and the Filipino fascination for lighter skin and non-Filipino features. They got half-halves or kids who didn't grow up here. So they had this little Quizby moment going on, and one of it is like asking how the Gomburza was called. Obviously, Gomburza. They gave the names, and the kids were like putting the names together, and they decided on Majoha instead of what do you call this? Instead of Gomburza. They put together the first names instead of their last names. I mean, it's still the same, but it kind of sounds weird to me. And now the people who were like on the internet were making fun of them and saying that, oh, this is a clear manifestation of the failure of the Philippine educational system because kids don't know shit about history. Hi, Maggie! Hello! I was just explaining to Mopo what Majoha is because we talked about Gomburza earlier and how it all happened, how it went down, and what their significance is. And yeah, that reminded me of the meme born from PBB kids. I don't know, are they kids? Are they teens? I don't even know. Everyone looks like a child to me. Maybe that is because I'm very, very old. No. You know what I you know what I hate? Jose Rizal is kind of a little shit. So if he hears that, he would probably be like, yeah, is that what the kids call it today? Majoha. People think of Rizal as this very, very serious man because, he's the national hero and all. But we keep on forgetting this little shit is a fun dude. Like, he is so fun. He had girlfriends everywhere. He's not even like hot physically. He was short and I don't know. I just don't think that they fell for him because he was hot in the, physical sense, but he was so smart and witty. Yes, Rizal is a shit poster. If he were born like these days, he would probably be like owning a vlog. Something he would probably do something like the Paulul vids where it's done for fun, but at the same time, it means something. There was a time in high school that I got really obsessed over Jose Rizal's life. I was really like simping for his language abilities, like he knew a lot of languages. But now I'm thinking about it. Did he really know that many? Or did he just know enough to flirt with those languages? Because, hmm, oh yeah, I do. Like, that's why I kind of like the big ass um, hangers. I bought some of them just for the lulz. Yeah, he would be a Konyo boy. Absolutely. He would probably be from like either Ateneo or UP Economics. Those types of Konyo boys. Because he was from a richer family. He's not like an ordinary guy. He had like um Spanish and Chinese blood, if I'm not mistaken. So he had money. That's why he was able to go to different countries to study. So he would definitely be a Konyo. No, I can hear it in my mind, in Mopo's voice. Not the ayo, my irog, my shoddy. Sheesh. No. No. Oh my god. Not Jose Rizal saying sheesh. I will cry. Now everyone in the chat is just saying sheesh. But yeah. Hello, Yuli. Hi, we were just like chatting about what we read earlier, which was about Gumburza and the whole Philippinization thing. And now we are at Rizal, who would probably be a Konya boy if he were born today. Shorties like it when you're multi-language parent. Yes. No, yes, we also talked about Majoha. I'm very, very sad about that. Yeah, can we please respect them? Don't call them Majoha, because as I've said, it sounds like Majonton, which is not a good sounding word. Anyway, hold on, because it's 9:24. It's a little too early for what do you call this? It's a little too early to end the stream for me. But also at the same time, I can't really read the next chapter yet because it usually takes me maybe 2 hours or more to read one chapter. So let's think of something that we can do aside from talking about Majoha. Not Mahjong. Fun fact, when I was in college, I had Mahjong for PE. Oh, Magindara. Remember Cases? So, needless to say, I kind of dropped the PE that was Mahjong because I didn't learn. I couldn't learn it for some reason. Maybe it was because I was just very lazy and I didn't want to go to the classroom. It was very far from my building. Yes, Cassis, she was the teacher of Good for You. Oh my god, she was horrible. Magindana and I were from the same school, so she knows the prof that I was talking about. She is, well, let's just say she's a delight to be with. Oh my god, strip dance! Wow. What were my fees? Mine was like social dance, and then that mahjong that ended horribly. I tried to take what's the other one? What's the other dance one? Because there were two social dance. The other one, I forgot. It was a long time ago. I'm old. But yes, our school have really weird um PEs. Oh, I also did camping. Was it actually camping? There's this other one. It's like camping but not camping. Oh my god, Magindara. You do not disappoint. You took the best classes. Oh, belly dance. I should have done that instead. Mahjong was a mistake. How do you do that? Well, maybe it's because you were ahead of me, but like during my time, it was really hard to get those subjects. Like, I kept on having to go pre-rog for my PE subjects and a lot of subjects. Like, there was a semester where I got like 0 units on the online registration. Oh, what does the moon taste like? It tastes like cheese. That's why I like cheese. It kind of tastes like the moon. Well, not all of them. At least half of them tasted like cheese, different types, some more pungent than the other. And then there are some that tasted like what candy is that? I can't remember. I can't remember the candy that it tastes like. But anyway, yes, cheese and then NASA said it smells like gunpowder but tastes like cheese according to BB. Well, the other six, half of them tasted like cheese. I haven't tasted the last one. We will see if it tastes like gunpowder when I get to it. Anyway, I wouldn't be eating the last moon very soon. I still need to get my beautiful reptilian body, which is, by the way, located under an unspecified mountain. Damn those babaylans. They put me into this tiny little body. Now I can't eat the fucking moon. Oh, well, although I am the physical manifestation of chaos and greed, I would definitely share some of the cheese moon if it does taste like cheese. But as you said, it tastes like gunpowder, according to NASA, or at least it smells like it. But we will see about that. I've also been seeing some weirdos on the internet saying that the moon is, what do you call that? It's like a Death Star. Well, just to let you know, my teeth are very sharp, and if it indeed is made out of pure metal, I will gnaw through it. Rawr. Mooncake? I would love mooncake. Yeah. Mooncakes are, I think they're from China, but there's no real moon inside, so I am, needless to say, very, very disappointed. Why would they say it's a mooncake if it didn't have any moon in it? Explosive cheese? We will see. Moon eggs? Well, if the moon had eggs, will it hatch other moons? Because I would love to have other moons. I have considered going to the other planets because, they say that there are planets with more moons than the Earth. But sadly, again, I am in this tiny little body. I can't fly yet. But We will get there someday. I'm an immortal, so I have all the time in my hands. Maybe in a few years, in a few decades, in a few lifetimes, I'll be able to get my real body back from the damn mountain and take over this earth and proceed to eat all the moons in the solar system. If the earth is a third planet away from the sun, does that mean our country is a country, third world country? Good point that you're asking there. Well, I don't know about all these other countries, but I know that we are currently in a third world country. But yeah, that's something that I would definitely think about. Hmm, hmm, hmm. Anyway, while oh, what was I gonna say? Oh, it's because I still don't have panels, so I keep on saying thank you to the people who make my stuff. The tiny little thingy wiggling down there is made by Jin Ginki. He was here earlier when I was raided by Hisako. And well, this layout, this overlay is made by me, except for the moon. That moon is drawn by my lovely L2D mama. Her name is Zai, who will also be the L2D mama of Mino Minokawa. So technically, we are siblings. So we're not just siblings at heart. Now we're going to be VTuber siblings for reals. Oh, I want to show you something. Hold on, um, let me just get my. I don't know where I put it though. There's an important thing that I need to show you, but I keep on forgetting where I put it. Is it here? Nani? Oh no, it's not. Anyway, I will just show that when I actually find it. But I think I found something else. So a few days ago, when was that? When was that? I have been given the commission that I've been waiting for. It's very, very adorable. I love it so much. Hold on. Let me show it to you. This one, oh, it's too big. Can you see this? Oh, it's adorable. Hello, Mystic Game God. Your brain is now cheese? Oh no! But look at this adorable, adorable, lovely, lovely photo card. I I forgot which K-pop group this was referenced from, but yeah, this is a photo card made by Natalie. Her name is Natalie Galang. Um, hold on. I can't find her Twitter handle, but you can find her on my Twitter because I reposted her stuff, and this is one of them. She made me this. So this is me on the right. See, lovely. On the left is my VTuber brother Mino, and this is our lovely, lovely Lucky Charm. Her name is Ling Ling O. Is that my real face? No, 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 honey. It's a photo card from I don't know which K-pop group. So they based the poses on that. And then, you want me to face reveal? Hold on. Let me. Here is the face reveal. Oh no. Yeah, we were schoolmates, but we were not classmates. We didn't meet each other at school. We met each other as VTubers. She also made this, Natalie Galang. Isn't it adorable? If you're wondering why it looks familiar, this is reference of Sunmi, the K-pop artist. I love her. I've been in love with her for how many years now? 14 years, since 2008. I love you. If you're listening to this, I will marry you. Yes, the nails are very, very pointy. Well, it's also very sexy. And then there's another one. This one is with Moshi Vienna. See, you look so cute in this one. This is also a. This is based on Sonmi, which is the post that I'm in, and the person over on the right is Moshi Vienna, but this was based on Chu of the K-pop girl group Luna. Isn't she adorable? Look at her fluffy ears. I love it so much. It's cute, right? I really want to print this out. And basically, if ever we join another, what do you call that? Another event in the future, I want to give them away. Or, I don't know. Yes, I know. I'm going to raid her in a bit if she's still on. What is it? Hold on. So aside from this, I love this picture so much. It brings me so much joy. Yes, she deserves all the headbands. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. After the stream, I will really need to go to the bathroom because of all the hydrates, but thank you, thank you. She also made backgrounds for this. Like if I print it as photo cards, I can do it like double-sided because she made background images. Look, it looks like actual K-pop photo card backing. Oh, it's adorable. I love it so much. Oh yeah, that's her what do you call that? Twitter handle. Wildfire, but like the wild has an E and the fire is spelled like fier. Okay, I will take that out because there is another version. This one is a green version. It's also lovely. I can't decide which I want to put at the back, but I'll probably do both. But aside from that, aside from giving me lovely, lovely photo cards, she also gave me a cute little fan art for free, and it's adorable. You see? I love her work. She's amazing. Mystic Game God. Well, if you want to watch it again, this VOD will be up for 2 weeks. And after that, it will still be available on YouTube. So please follow me on YouTube. It's just Bibi Bakunawa. I'm the only one. What else? Okay. Aside from this, I have a lot of things to show you because I have not streamed in a while. Where's the other one? Hold on. I can't find the background thingy that I commissioned. I have no idea where it is. Let me just quickly. You know what? I'm gonna go on Facebook to look for it in my messages because I keep on forgetting where I put it. Where is it? It's in my files. Probably. Hopefully. Oh yeah. Let me just save this image so that I can see. I mean, I can show you because it's funny. I commissioned this background image. Um, I might not use it because Ling and I would be making a new one, but I found a very good use for it. It's this. So, look for the hidden Balangay members. Aw, thank you. And this is like a bit of a spoiler for some things that you will see on my channel in the future. Oh my god, oh my god, you can. Oh my god, why did I put this here? I forgot I put some people who are not supposed to be here. Oh no! My simping! I'm exposed! Yes, she is very, very special. Okay, let's just go around. From the upper left, you can see that Mino is over there. He's hiding at the rooftop. If you're asking me why, he's the Minokawa. He can fly. He can do whatever he wants to in the rooftop. And then we have our dear angel outside watching over Ling in here, hiding behind the plants. And then over there, we have Aya hiding with our lovely, lovely Magindara. They're hiding behind the tree. Why is Mino upside down? Well, it's something that we do. When he misbehaves, we put him upside down. And when he misbehaves some more, he gets lighter and lighter until he's invisible. I love this part of this tree part, because when I first got this, I got really confused. Why is there a tree inside? Because I didn't really instruct them to put a tree inside. But now that I've put the Balangay members in here, I am kind of glad that there's a tree because it looks so cute. Magindara and Aya are hiding behind it. Oh, he's failing miserably. Do you know that Halia died in what's that, Tower of Fantasy, when he told her that he would protect her? Anyway, let me just go on and show you the other members. So as you can see here, at the back of the sofa, almost beside Magindara, we have Myon in his new outfit and new hair color. And then outside, you can see a very, very pretty Manananggal. Why is she not burning? Besties, we are in Biringan. What you can see outside, that Mount Mayon, it's only magically projected. I can show you whatever I want through that window. It's not really there. So in Biringan, the lovely and sexy Manananggals don't burn in the sunlight. We have protection for them. Crowned lady? Oh, you mean that one at the top right? Why, that is the very adorable and sweet fire goddess of the Orient, Isay. And then over here, can you see her at the rightmost? She's watching you. Moshi is there. And then here we have Mopo. Look at him. He's so tiny and cute and adorable. Mopo, and behind him is his mommy, Magi. And if you're asking why Magi is Mopo's mommy, she literally is his VTuber mom. She's the one who drew and rigged him. And then behind them, if you can see, like right outside, outside the house, peeking through the windows, that is Habagat. Did I forget anyone? Oh, and then there's me. You can see me peeping. Mopo is there, like behind the gong, the tiny gong. I bought a gong and they didn't tell me it was Mopo size. So I think I'm giving the gong to Mopo because I can't really play it. But for him, it's regular size. Bagat is there hiding behind Magi. Okay, I need to confess. I am a simp. I am a simp for the design of Invictus Nicolas Nello. Oh my god, I love his design. I mean, it's just his design, and he's very pretty. He looks like the doll that I really want. So when I saw it, I'm like, oh, I must follow him. He's so beautiful. I love it. And then the one with the blue hair, that is Taco. He is a Chinese VTuber. He has a group called Croven. They only stream on Bilibili, which is very, very sad for me because I don't want to go Bilibili. But he has a very beautiful voice. You know what? You know what we should do? Since we're already here, you know what? I'm going to show you the video of Taco one of these days. Not today, but one of these days. And if you would look at my couch, it's made out of rattan, you can see a plushie of me and Mino. Aren't we adorable? And then what else is here? You can see my tarot cards on the shelf at the right. You can also see some crystals. And oh, you can see a balangay inside a tiny little boat. And there might be some potions in there. I'm not gonna tell you what those potions are for. But oh, right here, right behind Magi, if you ignore Habagat and the two-dimensional man I simp for, you can see my favorite things. You will see a bottle of efficacent oil, some other potions, and hanging right there is a Ling Ling O, not the Ling Ling O that's hiding behind the big leaf. And below them, those are two of my favorite figures from the series Modao Zushi, or Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. Those are my favorite characters. So I bought them and I placed them there for good luck. And in front over here, you can see my crystal ball. I don't really need it, you know, it's just here for the vibe. I mostly use tarot cards anyway. And I have spices, but I'm grinding some ilang ilang leaves. If you don't know, ilang ilang, it's oil. It's not leaves, it's flowers. The one on the mortar and pestle thingy, those are ilang ilang flowers. They are used as what do you call this? It's not an aphrodisiac, but like it gives off a sexy, sensual mood. Because you know, my hair smells like ilang ilang. Where do you think it comes from? It comes from the trees around my house, and I make it myself. Oh, it's been generations since you've heard of those flowers? Oh, I see them every day because I have them outside my house. And what else? Oh, over here on the lower right of the table, you can see a tin can of cookies. Those are not cookies. Those are my sewing materials. What else is here? Oh, you can see my pet. I don't have a name for my pet yet. She is a blue pit viper. She is very, very polite. I love her so much. One of these days, I will let the chat name her. I will pick the best names, but not today. Anyway. Oh, what else have I not shown? Oh, you can see my bilao up there. I also have a kampilan at the back. I also have Cape's shell lanterns here. Valentina Bakunawa. Hold on, let me just... Yay. Okay, hold on. Is Moshi still on? Let me just check quickly. Oh, let's open her Twitch. How do I share this one? Let's watch what she's doing. Let's go to the gaming screen. Um, can't find it. Hold on. Wait.
Look at the Mushinians.
Okay, she's still on. We will be rating Moshi, Maral, Vienna. Hold on, let's go to the video producer. I always back read, honey. Let me just go to the just chatting screen. And yeah, that would be all for today. And I hope you had a great time with me, listening to me talk about the history of the Philippines, or at least a tiny portion of it. And for now, we will raid Moshi Vienna, but I think I need to give you a raid message. It's going to be. Let me look for dragon emoji. Google, please give dragon emoji, please. I'm always having technical difficulties. I'm very much of a boomer. Hold on, how do we do that? Oh shit. It doesn't want me to copy it. How? Struggle. This is the raid message. You can replace that with the, what do you call this? With this one. Hold on. If you are subscribed, and yeah, so that's it for now. I will be seeing you again tomorrow, I think. Wait, what's my schedule tomorrow? I keep on forgetting. Signs of aging? Maybe. But yes, tomorrow is a Thursday. I think we will be playing A Way Out. We will be gooning again with Minokawa at 8 p.m. Same time, same place. We're already out of prison, you know? We're just trying to keep it that way. And also, we're trying to fuck up this guy who got him and me in prison. We got a score to settle. Anyway, so that will be all for today. As usual, au revoir, adios, annyeong, zaijian, sayonara, sampai jumpa. Paalam mga minamahal. Baby, bye-bye.
Okay. Oh, wait. More. And build outside the plot areas. Oh, hi! Hello, hello. Thank you for the raid, BB. BB time. Hello, everyone. I am Moshi Maral Vienna, your Visayan leopard cat. Hello, hello. We are currently playing 2 Point Campus, and I am setting up Moshi University. So, go enroll now, guys. Go enroll at Moshi University. Oh, thank you, Vanilla. Thank you for helping me out. Welcome, everyone. I am now inviting. Welcome, everyone. Moshi University. Can I apply as prof? Sure. What are you going to teach? Everyone in Balangay could be profs. This is ISCP Simulator. Moshi University will compete with ISCP to be the best university in the universe. Tuturuan kita magma.